it's a statistic, and it's often numbing. It doesn't convey, I think, some of the unbelievable horrors that each and every person who went through the Holocaust had to experience. One example that I think conveys to some extent some of the horrors is the story of what 3 villagers told me in Poland. This is in this one village, it was the first one in the video, where it was a community of Poles and Jews. A lot of the Jews were working on this big estate, a big farm owned by a Pole, as a way of escaping deportation. The Germans came in the morning the way they typically would. This unit 101 from Hamburg surrounded the village, went over to the Polish farmer who owns this estate, said, I want you to round up all your Jews, and if you tell them, I'm going to shoot you, your wife, and your children right now. So he told the Jews to round up. There were 18 in this little village. 17 of them showed up, and the Poles were told to dig a hole, a trench. They were put in front of the trench, and this unit, 101, stood behind these Jews and put a bullet behind them, either in the head or in the back. Then the Poles put the dirt on top of the Jews, and everybody left. The witnesses, and this video was designed for my son's bar mitzvah, is going to be shown on PBS, which will not be geared, of course, to my son's bar mitzvah, but it'll be a broader story on these mass graves and the mass murders. So these young adults, 10, 12, 14 years old, who witnessed this, there were 4 of them, one has died, saw the shooting, got scared, ran off into the forest, came back about a half an hour later. And it's what they described which is so chilling. They said everybody was gone. There was blood everywhere. And the ground was moving. So obviously these people who had been shot, not only do they have the horror of a bullet in them and the excruciating pain of that, not only are they lying among their friends or loved ones, but they're slowly suffocating to death. And then there was one more. Remember, there were 18 in the village, only 17 showed up. There was one young man who somehow didn't have a good feeling about being told to come out into the main square of the estate. So he hid out in it was a farm area, he hid out in the cornfields. And I only know this because, again, there are 3 witnesses that we have on video who are describing this. And they said that at night he would come into the village and he would beg for food. And the villagers did not give him any food. And they said that. And we have that on tape. They said fear was so great that no one helped this Jew. Approximately 2 weeks later, when they went out in the cornfields, they found him dead, having died of starvation. So this is just some of the experiences that these people who died in these mass graves suffered. And I know that I, as someone who is privileged to be born in this country and raised here, and I'm humbled to be among Holocaust survivors and descendants of people who experienced slavery, I don't know what to do other than what you wonderful educators are doing by making people sensitive and aware of this suffering. And growing up, I heard all these stories from my grandmother, and it pained me so much. And I always wanted to do something in some small way that could somehow do something for some of these victims. So in our own small way, we erected these monuments. It's a continuing project for us where we're going to go back to Poland, continue to search for these places where these Jews were shot, put up a monument, once again, try to preserve and honor their memory and give some dignity to their death. And once again, I want to thank all of you for your incredible and unusual sensitivity to that of African Americans and the incredible suffering that they went through in coming here on the slave ships, and the horrors that they had to suffer as slaves in the aftermath, even when they were liberated as slaves after the Civil War. And for people here who are sensitive to the Holocaust, my hat's off to you, especially when I see non-Jews who care deeply about the Holocaust. I don't think that's very common. And I can't tell you how much I admire and respect so much your concern and your sensitivity to the suffering of our people. Thank you very much.
I feel very great that I was able to do this for my project, and then I was able to do all this before all the witnesses died. So it's very good.
Yeah.